Okay, this video is going to be showing you how to put the vinyl colors on the Long Easy airplane from Vertical Climb RC. What you're going to want to have done is have your wing glued together. Along there is according to the instructions. Fold it in half like that and let it glue. You'll also want to take note that the grooves and the V-cut on the bottom of the ailerons, that is the bottom of the wing, so that you make sure that you orient that to the bottom, because your colors are going to go on the top of the wing. This is what the wing is going to look like when you're done. You're going to want to have the control horns in there. You're not going to want your ailerons cut yet. It's just easier to put the vinyl on before you cut the slots here so that your ailerons can move. Just a quick overview on the vinyl we're going to be using. A lot of people use this for craft lettering, and just to explain for those of you that have never used the vinyl before, there's going to be 3 parts to the vinyl that we're using. The vinyl comes in rolls, and it's basically like this. You have the vinyl that's very thin, and then you have the backing that's on it, so it comes with that backing on. When the color parts are cut out, we put a transfer tape, which is this sticky kind of white tape on it, and that goes over top of the vinyl, and that's to ease in the application of the vinyl. Where the vinyl is so thin, if you were to just peel the vinyl off and try to stick it on, it would curl up and stick to itself. So what you're going to do is you pull the backing off the vinyl, which leaves the sticky side of the vinyl exposed, and you pull that off, and then you will stick that on, as you'll see in the video, and then after that's stuck on and smoothed down, then you'll peel that off. So that's just a quick overview of how this vinyl works. So we'll move on now with applying it to the airplane. What you're going to need is some rubbing alcohol, a rag, and then the parts that's going to get the colors on them, which is going to be wing, left and right fuselage sides, left and right canard, and 2 winglets. So the first thing we're going to do is clean everything off with a rag and rubbing alcohol. This gets any of the foils or dirt off of it. You'll have a lot better success with the vinyl sticking if you wipe it down really good. On the fuselage sides, the side that's going to get the vinyl on is going to be the outside, and the way you can tell is there's these slots or pockets, and those are the inside. So the vinyl will go on the opposite side of that, and it's going to go kind of down through the center here. Then before you put the vinyl on it, you're going to want to let that alcohol dry really well. Before we start applying the vinyl, what we're going to do is put the control rods in for the ailerons, because what's going to happen is the part of the vinyl is going to cover up this part here so it doesn't show, and then one of the strips of vinyl is going to also act as your aileron hinge right through here. So hope you can see this okay, but to get your control rod, they're rights and lefts. So the 90 degree goes up, and you can read all this in your instructions, so we won't really go over all the details on it, but just put it in, and the sleeve that goes over top of the rod, slide it so it's right up against the 90 degree, and then push it towards so it's as far to the inside of the flat part of the groove as it can go. And then take this part out here and just kind of push that into the foam, and do that on both sides. And what that's going to do, it's going to leave a little indentation in the foam. And then what you're going to do is you should take a utility knife. I don't have my utility knife with me right now, but you're going to take and cut a slot in that where that mark, that impression is. And you can cut that. And that should allow that 45-degree part of the wire to go down into the foam. And so it should go down in deep enough so that when it's positioned, that this 90-degree is sticking straight up. So then what you're going to do is get your glue. And you're going to put your glue along that groove. Don't get too close to the ends because you don't want it to seep around into the end, and because then it will cause the controls to bind up. Get that pushed down in there. Get the rod pushed down in there. And then glue that in place also. Do that on both sides. Make sure you have enough glue. It's going to fill that up, and then you're going to kind of want to wipe that off. After you get these glued in, you can let those dry a little bit. If you're using 5-minute epoxy, just take a piece of cardboard or a putty knife, wipe it off nice and flush. I was just using some foam tack glue on it, and it kind of went up a little bit. So if you want to make it really nice and smooth, you can I have a product by Beacon Products here. It's foam finish, but you can just use putty from Home Depot, spackle compound, and if you want to make it look a little nicer, and just fill that in nice and smooth. Also, you can hit the that divot where that control rod goes out into the aileron. And then just set that aside to dry, and while that is drying, we'll work on the decals for the other parts. So let's start with something easy. Let's do the winglets. Okay, the winglets they're identical, but when they go in the airplane, they're going to want to be rights and lefts. So you're going to want to pair them up like a mirror image of each other before you put the decals on. And then find the decal that is going to go to the corresponding sides. So here's the thing with the vinyl. If you look at the side that you can see the color on, it's you're looking through a transfer paper, and that transfer paper is going to hold the vinyl stiff while you put it on. So if you turn it over on the back side, there's going to be the solid white that's going to have some, usually it'll have some lines on it or markings, brand names and things like that. That's what you're going to want to peel off. So what you want to do is just separate away from the vinyl the transfer paper and start pulling that really carefully. What should happen is the vinyl should come off onto that transfer paper. And if it wasn't for that transfer paper, that vinyl would probably go crazy and stick to itself. Lay that down on your table, and because you can see the corners a lot better, and just line that up and then just kind of push it down onto it, then flip it over. And I've got these special squeegees, but you can just use a credit card and kind of smooth that on and get the bubbles out. Don't push too hard, especially like on the edge, or else you'll indent into the foam. And then you kind of take your finger and rub it. And I like to let that just sit on there for a minute, or let the vinyl stick to the foam better. And let's go ahead and do the other side. And if it's not perfect, you can always just, if it's hanging over a little bit, you can trim it off with a knife. And this is kind of the main process for applying vinyl. Okay, now let's take the first one that we put on, and now we're going to peel the transfer tape off. The best way is to not start right on a corner like here, but to start in the middle and kind of peel it back and make sure that the vinyl is sticking to the part. And I like to just kind of pull it back and then tear that, and then you can pull it off really carefully. Kind of keep it, don't pull straight up, but pull on an angle and kind of follow with your finger and make sure it's not lifting off of the part, and just pull that transfer tape off like that. You always want to work towards a sharp point, because if you start at the sharp point, there's more of a chance of it peeling up. And just do the same thing there. So there's one side. And then we're going to do the other side over here. And that's the basic process for applying the vinyl. That'll be the same process you're going to use on all the parts. We're going to quickly do, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'll just go over one of the fuselage sides. You're going to do the same on both sides, but there's going to be a long and a short one for both sides. And they are going to go, this little drop down the straight part's going to go towards the center. So that one's for the other side, that short one. So that's how they're going to go on. And the way these are cut right now is the edge of the transfer tape is going to go right up to the edge of these slots right here. And that'll kind of give you a good reference on how far down to put it. The top one is going to go just so it's kind of centered in this part here, right there, but you can see that the edge of that transfer tape is right even with the slots. And take your, if you have a squeegee like that, you can squeegee it out. If not, you can use a credit card, and again, be careful pushing too hard. Again, we got to make sure that these pockets do not get the color on that side. That goes to the inside. And then we'll just peel these off the same way as we did on the winglets. And there you go. Whoops. That's your fuselage side. On the wing, or the canards, again, they're lefts and rights. This groove for the spar that goes in the canard, it's offset towards the front, so that's how you'll know which is the front of the canard. And you can position that anywhere you want. I've gone ahead and cut mine. I've laid the canard over top of it and kind of traced it out and then cut it with scissors so that I can just use that to position it right where I want it in the canard. So you can trim that anywhere you want. If you want to put it a little bit farther forward, you can do that. So there we have our canards, our winglets, and our fuselage sides. Now we're going to do the wing. Our spackling has dried. The transfer paper should come right to the back, the trailing edge of the wing, and then the color on the vinyl should go right over to this opening, right flush with that. So if you line that up there, where it's flush with that, or even it doesn't hurt if it's just a hair away from it. And make sure that the back of the transfer tape is even with the trailing edge of the wing. That's where we're going to want to position this vinyl. We're going to try a little bit different technique on this. What we're going to do is peel the vinyl back, because there's a point there, but I'm going to kind of do it on an angle like this and make sure that that doesn't peel up. Now I'm just going to go that far right there, and then I'm going to press, fold that back so it's really tight. Then I'm going to kind of let that go over like this, and I'm going to put this in position, make sure that's in position there and the trailing edge is even there. And when everything is lined up right where I want it to be, I'm just going to go ahead and push that down there, and I'm going to slide this over. It'd help if I had a bigger table. And then just fold that back. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel the rest of the transfer tape off. And if you want, you can even do that in a couple stages like that if you want to, if you're a little bit concerned, because when you get a bigger piece like this, it gets a little bit floppy, and then you can kind of line it up and push it down like that, work the bubbles out of it. And then just continue right on around. And that's wanting to lift right there, so I'm going to squeeze that down and pull that off really carefully. And then pull it down towards the points like that. And I'm just going to kind of smooth this out. You need to do that with your fingers or your squeegee, credit card, whatever you're using. And just kind of right up to there. So now you can see that that covers up that control rod mechanism. Start right there. And it's lifting a little bit, so I'm going to make sure it's squeezing down good. If you ever have any problems with these little points sticking up, just take a very small dab of a clear glue that's foam safe and just dab it on there. If you've cleaned everything off good and have it pressed down nice, you shouldn't have any problem. So there's our wing. Now you have all the colored vinyl on your airplane parts, and now you can move on and begin assembling the airplane. Thanks for watching, and enjoy building and flying this airplane.